Louisiana All American Sports Show. 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 Louisiana. If it's sports you want to talk about, then listen to the hottest show that's coming out the South. It's Eric Hatfield and Coach Perry Daniels, man. They're going to sit you down and tell you all about the game and make it plain. 96.9 FM, that's the station to hear the best sports talk show in the nation. Without hesitation, you should get with this and get your popcorn ready, boy, you better not miss Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana. It's Joker P.
Ain't dope as me, I'm just so fresh, so clean. Good morning, Baton Rouge. Today is Saturday, the last Saturday before Christmas. So, you better get out there and do all your last-minute shopping. Today is December the 20th, 2014, and you are listening to Louisiana All American Sports on 96.9 FM WHYR-LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio. Good morning, I am Eric Hatfield.
And I'm Gerard Piper.
And the professor's here.
And we are in the building, and we're ready to rock and roll with another scintillating, smoking, fantastic, zesty, tangy weekend of sports here on Louisiana All American Sports. Here we go, 225-343-9927, area code 225-343-9927. We've got a lot to talk about, so if you want to get on the conversation, that is the number to call. Last week, we wrapped up the high school football season, the All-State Sugar Bowl LHSAA Prep Classic wrapped up in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. A lot of action was on. We talked last week about Livonia against Amite in the 3A championship game. Livonia was the number one overall seed. They were the 2013 runner-up. Well, they faced the Amite Warriors, and the Warriors came out to play, and they went right back in their locker rooms. Livonia was all over them, 43-14. That game was over with by the halftime. It was not very competitive. Still, look, two teams that are not too far from Baton Rouge, Livonia right there, and Point Capee Parish. Great job by those guys. They really earned it. That program is built up very quickly over the last couple of years, and despite a lot of turmoil with the public school situation over there, it's good to see that community and those kids come away with the championship. They definitely earned it. Amite Warriors, nothing to hold their heads down about that. They'll be back. They'll be back next year. That's a very solid football program out there in Tangipahoa Parish. In Class 4A, Neville and Warren Easton, that was a classic. It really came down to a matter of clock management by Warren Easton. I think that's probably what did them in. It wouldn't hurt if they had a kicking game that could reliably make extra points either. As a missed extra point in the first quarter came back to haunt them. The final score was Neville 28, Warren Easton 27. Warren Easton trying to bring a state championship back to the city of New Orleans, but not quite enough. Still, they had a fantastic season. Deshaun Capers-Smith, the fine quarterback for Easton, he is going to make, I know he's committed, but I don't know how hard the commitment is, but he's going to be a real asset, a real athlete on somebody's college football team next year. That was a fantastic game. Then in the big boys, 5A, the primetime game, that was an interesting game. Destrehan from St. Charles Parish, I believe, just outside of New Orleans against Acadiana from the Acadiana area, hence the name Acadiana. Acadiana won 23-7. That was an interesting game. Acadiana was always in the driver's seat in that game. They didn't really put their heads to bed until the fourth quarter, but they just really dominated with a power game, and then they hit Destrehan up with passes. Destrehan simply could not keep up with Acadiana in that game. Still, the game was a little bit better than the score indicated, but Acadiana was in the driver's seat from start to finish.
That's kind of shocking to me, Destrehan.
Yeah, because they've been. I mean, really, last year they got in a little bit of trouble with the huddle system and all. So I mean, that kind of put a negative spotlight on them, but that football team is always very competitive.
Right.
But Acadiana just had, I mean, I was listening to the game, NOLA.com had a live stream of all the championship games, and I forget the gentleman's name, It's something Derry Jr. I forget it, but that man was from 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the morning till must have been 8, 9 o'clock was behind the mic. That man's got some energy. I'll give it to him, and he had enthusiasm in his voice the whole time. And every big play, every fumble, I'm like, I don't know how he does it. I got to take notes. So big kudos. If you listen to the games, you know what I'm talking about. I just can't remember the gentleman's name, but I say all that to say, I heard the game, great coverage, but Destrehan. What worked for them all year was forcing turnovers, defense, running over their opponent. Acadiana wasn't having it. They weren't getting run over, and they made plays when they had to be made.
Yeah, man.
So,
Deal, man. The only thing that's shocking to me about these high school stuff is, the big news that I saw today on the paper about Redemptorist is closing. Have you seen that?
Yes, I heard that information last week. Redemptorist, which is a legacy school in the Baton Rouge area, long-time private school. Their football. Once upon a time, they were one of the big boys in Baton Rouge prep sports. They had a little bit of a resurgency on the baseball diamond, and their football program was starting to come around. And remember there was a kid, a little boy called up. He was in middle school, and he said he was going to Redemptorist next year to play football.
And that's what I thought about.
Yeah, I thought about that young man. It was baby D. That's it, baby D. Yeah. So if you're listening, baby D, we remember you. But yeah, I thought about that young fella. And it's just disappointing. But private schools rely on tuition and students and money, and the facilities have just been eroding. The alumni base just hasn't given the support that a lot of these other schools get. It's just,
and that's what my point was, the alumni base, because there's been some prestigious alumni that came from it.
Very much so. I mean, we have Jeremy Hill, most noteworthy former running back from LSU, and there's a whole slew of notable Howard Carter, Curry. Derek Taylor.
Howard Carter. I remember him.
Derek Taylor also was a point guard.
Lyle Collins.
Collins. Other individuals went there. But as I saw the news, I heard they said that as Eric just mentioned, it being a private school, the Archdiocese, Catholic Diocese here, controls the funding. And they said that the school population dropped from about 1,200 down to about 200 students. I mean, you can't maintain a facility with 200 students. So, I mean, it was more of a business decision than anything.
It was an unfortunate business decision that it really had to be made, unfortunately.
And I just see the pattern, like Ostroma just closed down, Capitals holding on by a thread. They brought Lehigh back. And
they were gone for a few years.
Right. And so it just kind of seemed to be a trend going here.
And, I always say when it comes to, high schools in general, but especially high school sports, the cold hard facts, it ultimately comes down to WTF. Where's the funding? Where's the funding? And if the funding isn't there, if the support's not there, it's really hard to maintain. I think Redemptorist I think they did. I don't blame the Archdiocese. I think they did everything they could. They tried all kinds of different things, tried restructuring and resizing and downsizing and right-sizing and diagonal sizing and all the, restructuring and duct tape and popsicle sticks.
Right.
But, at the end of the day, if it's not fiscally feasible, you can't operate a program, and that is the cold, harsh reality that Redemptorist faced, and of course that Lehigh faced, and they were underachieving, and kudos to the folks who really put their nose to the grindstone to bring that school back, and now you're just starting to see some of the athletic programs come back at that school also, and that's a Baton Rouge institution.
Right.
And then you have a Struma. I know there was a lot of back and forth and back. The latest is they're still continuing operations there. Is that correct?
No. The school is now defunct. It hasn't been open at all this school year. However, when you look at the structure of the school board and the utilization of these facilities, you look at location. And just for example, not to get on my soapbox, but McKinley is strategically located in a place that it will always be feasible to have. Ostroma is in an area, in a city, somewhat downtrodden area. Citizens are disenfranchised there. So the community, the student base, it's a rough neighborhood over there. Just not to sugarcoat it.
Oh yeah, no, that's right by LTC, and that had been a few names. Yeah, it was real over there. That's right by Gus Young and all that, and
right in the hood.
Yeah. Oh well, of course, with football season coming to an end, we have the hardwood is starting to pick up. District play hasn't started yet for many of the teams, but there have been some premier matchups that. It took place. The Madison Prep Chargers, which we talked a lot about, Coach Jeff Jones, 2013 Class B champion, 2014 Class 1A runner-up. Well, they're cruising right along where they have been. Madison Prep jumped out to an early lead against the Lafayette Lions. They were up 12-3, and they continued. They coasted to a victory last night in that non-district matchup. Also, the Scotlandville Hornets picked up another win last night. That should be no surprise there. Coach Carlos Sample, I mean, it's like, their seat, they already have like a little marble seat with Scotlandville, etched in the locker rooms. Wherever the top 28 is going to be this year, they've already got their position already warmed up. But the Scotlandville Hornets were victorious last night, as were the U-High Cubs, another Baton Rouge area school. The U-High Cubs absolutely throttled Warren Easton. Clearly, Warren Easton not as prospering on the basketball court as they are on the gridiron, as they were beaten. You ready for this score? 83-24, a 59-point beatdown in the Country Day Classic. So the Cubs are handling their business. They already won the state championship in football, the Division II championship, and they're coasting.
They won state in basketball last year.
Yeah, that's right. They won. Was it 3A? Right?
Yeah,
they were 3.
I think they were 2A. I think.
They were in the top 28, and they hoisted some hardwood. They're 9-0 this year. The Cubs continue coasting right along, and Scotlandville had a little bit of a battle from West Jeff. A little surprised actually that they had to pull away. That the game was back and forth, fourth and back for the first 3 quarters, and finally Coach Sample put the heads to bed. Scotlandville defeated West Jeff 47-38. LaMarcus Lee, who's the times we called a few Scotlandville games, he's always been a key component. He scored 10 points, including nailing 5 of 6 at the line down the stretch. So Carlos Samples got him rolling once again. So those are just some of the teasers. We will be bringing high school basketball back to you on Louisiana All American Sports.com, as we will be delivering from right here in Baton Rouge the Bel Air Bengals at the Cage, hosting the Catholic High Bears. So we will have that action to you live, 7 p.m. Tuesday, December 23rd, as we'll have a little basketball in your Christmas stocking on Louisiana, allamericansports.com. We'll be updating that schedule later today, but you can see that game Tuesday, 7 p.m., Bel Air hosting Catholic High. At the Cage.
And Eric, let me make a quick ancillary statement in reference to Bel Air. Noticing in today's sports page that I used to work at Bel Air, worked at Bel Air for 6 years. I'm also an employee of EBR. However, Keith Woods has been removed from his position as head coach, and they brought along Claude Coleman, who was the former coach at Capital. But Bel Air hasn't had a resurgence in football. I mean, they haven't been pretty good since Manuel DeMore.
Yeah, we're going way back, and then the facilities are. The football facilities are abysmal. Right, they're really bad. It's a farm over there.
Right, it is.
Yeah. Oh, and I got some breaking news too. Of course, I'm not Adam Schefter.
Come on.
But this concerns my alma mater, and of course Professor T's too, is McKinley High Panthers. I've talked to an ex-coach. I'm gonna remain nameless. Yeah, remain nameless. But we got to talk about Coach Signator down there.
Okay.
And from my understanding, he went to the front office and they came to some type of an agreement. Now, this is just hearsay so far, but the agreement was that he fired his whole coaching staff, the offensive coordinators and everybody, and he would remain to be the McKinley head coach.
Wow.
What you think about that?
The verdict's still out on it. Me being a historian, which when I give my topic today, I allude to the nature of what I'm about to say, but I need to look at primary source data before I do this.
What is it? Always, what's the catchphrase? Always investigate?
Always investigate the information you receive. If it is indeed the truth, it shall stand the test of investigation.
That's right. Well, just say sources say.
Right.
So, just kind of in the air right now.
It's in the air.
From what they're saying, I know the Signator is on the chopping block, but look like they're trying to pan it off on the offensive coordinators and the coordinators. So.
Well, let me tell you, if you're going to pick a component of the McKinley game, you have 3 components: offense, defense, special teams. that offensive game plan at McKinley's a black hole. We bring you guys a lot of McKinley football. They're pretty big in the community, huge alumni base. So of course we're going to bring a lot of them to you on Louisiana All American Sports.com. We brought 4 McKinley games this year, and that offense they couldn't pass a spelling test, let alone pass the football. It was abysmal. I mean, the passing game was just abysmal. There's no way. There's even no way to sugarcoat it.
They had talent out.
They have guys who can run. Right, running backs. Outstanding running backs. But boy, you have big Keon Smart, the left tackle. You should be throwing it a little bit. Right. They ain't throwing it all. So I think they definitely picked the right part. If you're going to pick one of those components to throw into the bus, I believe go Greyhound as because that was their offense was putrid this year. So I think, and I like Coach Segnet is a great guy. The kids love him, so I'm glad he is going to, if this information is accurate, and we haven't put it through the test, sources say we haven't put it through the test of investigation yet, but if that is accurate, then I think that's a pretty fair compromise. Professor, before we go on to advance past the high school ranks, you were saying about Bel Air's football program. You were saying about the coaching change over there?
Yes, sir. The former coach from Capital High School, Claude Coleman, has been put in place to remove Keith Woods, who was there for 3 years. Bel Air this past season had their most wins. They won 3 games, which is pretty good. I mean, we were getting, as they say in the streets, the brakes beat off of us there normally. I mean, if we won 1 game, I mean, it was a big hurrah. So hey, I guess they just decided, hey, we got to do something.
3, yeah.
That's good, and I'm glad to see that. Look, that athletics program is looking up. Coach Chauncey Moore, head coach of the Bel Air Bengals basketball team, had turned that school around. Right now, that team is 9-4. They played Broadmoor last night. I don't know what the result. They did win.
Yeah, they won 79-77.
That team is going the right way. Coach Moore has just instilled confidence in those kids. He's instilled the process. They're playing a tougher schedule. I mean, they lost to some of those 4 losses. One of them includes U-High. Another includes Thibodeau. Have you ever seen Thibodeau play? They got some big old cornbread boys down there. Denham Springs is always cranking out good basketball teams. That's another one of the losses. And the 4th loss was to Parkview Baptist. Always a competitive team right there on Airline. So Bel Air, I expect them to be higher than a 32nd seed in the playoffs this year. And I'm optimistic about where that program is going and the pride and the sense of confidence that are being instilled in those kids. In the 2013 season, the Bel Air Bengals were, before Coach Moore got there, they only had won a small number of games. Bill Cosby actually talked about that. He said,
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Only 5 wins, and then they made the playoffs last year, and now they already have 9 wins. So good for the Bel Air Bengals. We're going to take a very brief intermission, and we're going to bring back on the other side Professor Johnson's history class. We haven't had class in session for a while. Now the final exams are over, you get to go to class. We want to hear from you. Area code 225-343-9927. Area code 225-343-9927. We got a lot of talk about the National Football League, and of course LSU hoops is getting hot and heavy. So don't go anywhere. You are listening to Louisiana All American Sports on 96.9 FM WHYR-LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio.
Yeah, boy.
Don't go anywhere. And you're listening to Louisiana All American Sports on 90. There we go. See you in a few. Louisiana. Yes, indeed. Full of that country grammar. You're listening to the Louisiana All American Sports Show on 96.9 FM WHYR-LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio. The phone number, you should know by now, area code 225-343-9927, 225-343-9927. Of course, if you don't want to call the show, you can always tweet us at LAA Sports. That's at Louisiana All American Sports, LAA Sports on Twitter if you want to connect with us online. So before we go into Professor Johnson's history class, it's a holiday season, and of course Comedy Central had its South Park Washington Redskins Go Fund Yourself Christmas special with Bill Cosby singing Baby It's Cold Outside, Baby It's Cold Outside with Taylor Swift. And I asked how many roofies Bill Cosby put into her drink, and it was So now we'll move on, though, from the ridiculous to the sublime, as it is Professor Johnson's history class. Y'all should know what that is by now if you're over the age of 30. Professor Johnson's history class is in session.
Peace to my universal family and welcome, WHYR listening audience, to our show. It is indeed a privilege to have you today listening in. As always, we want to try to inform and teach and enlighten on subject matters that you may not be aware of. So today I want to make a new beginning with what I'm doing with my shows. I want to state my initial purpose and intent for why we are doing this, to try to enlighten in the realm of history. History, for all intents and purposes, should be looked at not to, it's an attempt to clear the ambiguity of white history, of black history. This is an effort to fortify truth. It's not about whiteness, it's not about blackness, it's about what's right. And as I've often said, when you study history, when you're a student in academia in history, you learn there's a formula that we utilize, and it's called research, analyze, and interpret. A lot of times in these interpretations of particular documents, the interpretation is faulty. And we use what's called the 6 historical C's: content, context, connections, communication, citation, and conclusion. Content, what is this about? Citation, who was the author? Connections, what group was this written for? Was it written for a pro-slavery group or anti-slavery group? Communications, what realm, what era was this particular piece written for? And conclusions, what was the ultimate message that was trying to be displayed? So this is the formula that we utilize in the historical realm on the educational level. Now what I want to discuss briefly today is something that we all know about very well, is the infamous Willie Lynch letter. The infamous Willie Lynch letter, and I want to apply the 6 historical C's to this letter in a contextual perspective. We are all told that the William Lynch letter was written by Willie Lynch, a rich slave plantation owner from the West Indies, and he gave his speech on the banks of the James River in 1619. However, in academia, there is no tangible or physical evidence that, based on the historical C's and research, analyze, and interpret, that Willie Lynch's scenario is one of conjecture. There's no proof that this is a real person. Based on scholarly research on the letter, some of the terminology that was used in this letter was not prevalent in this century. Some of it. I can't think of exactly which words they were. But however, we're saying that the Willie Lynch letter, or Willie Lynch as a person, there is no physical, tangible evidence. Historians have not been able to prove a birth certificate or any record of him being from the West Indies or being a plantation owner. Perhaps this may have been a pen name, like Mark Twain. So this is what scholars are leaning toward now. It's an excellent letter. We've learned a lot about it, the workings of indoctrinating slaves. However, the person Willie Lynch, in historical circles, there have been no tangible primary source evidence alluding to who this man is. So I just wanted to share that with our listening audience today, because I know a lot of us lean on the Willie Lynch letter, the Willie Lynch syndrome, which it has some knowledgeable facts in it. However, Willie Lynch is not a real person. And remember, always investigate the information you receive. If it is indeed the truth, verily it shall stand the test of investigation. Stand by.
Professor, real quick, you were saying that, could you run through those 6 C's again one more time?
Content, context, connections, communications, citations, and conclusions.
Wow.
Being a black man in America isn't easy. The hunt is on. And you're the prey.
Very poignant lead-in as our board master, our master engineer, Mr. Eric Hatfield, led us in with that poignant snippet.
He's good.
As I felt inclined to just give 1 minute of time just to the state of affairs of race relations in America. As Rock said, being a black man in America isn't easy. The hunt is on, not a blatant physical hunt as it once may have been when LSU lost to Ole Miss and
Ooh.
went out and got him one to, okay, I'm not going to go there.
Don't go there.
The hunt is, I threw that bow and arrow right here.
Little comic relief, that's good.
The hunt is on for young black men, and it seems as though when we look at, in the proper context, what's going on in America, it almost seems as if the hunt is on. And I'm going to close with this. D.L. Hughley said something very important, and I listened to him for his comedy component. But D.L. Hughley said, in any other job, he said the guy that was driving that Walmart truck that hit Tracy Morgan, he's not driving anymore because he injured somebody. If somebody drives an airplane and they get in a wreck, 9 times out of 10, a school bus or Greyhound bus, and they injure lives, they lose their jobs. Only the police force can kill somebody arbitrarily or accidentally and still retain their job. Is the hunt on? You think about it.
Good point. Good point.
Clint?
Also, I want us to say too that when you talk about that hunt and people keeping their job, I'm glad that the coach of Grambling kept his job after that loss to the Jaguars.
Class dismissed.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We gotta fight the powers that be.
Fight the power. That was a good one, man.
Yeah, that was excellent. Wow.
Oh man, that was fun and entertaining at the same time. That's what we try to bring to the community here on Louisiana All American Sports.
That's what's up.
Well, look, 225. We haven't heard from y'all yet. We usually the phone's ringing off the hook. It's late in the football season. Anyway, 225-343-9927. Area code 225-343-9927. You can also reach us on Twitter at LAA Sports. That's for Louisiana All American Sports. LAA Sports. But transitioning out of a topic with some depth to something that's a little more trivial but still a lot of fun, and one of the reasons we all like to watch and listen to and discuss sports. We like to be right sometimes, sometimes like to throw some bows and arrows at one another when we're wrong, and we're going to see where last week I told you so.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
So let's talk about some of the possible candidates. Marcus Mariota,
Okay.
University of Oregon. I think he's going to win it going away. I think go to Soldier Field where they play the Chicago Bears, who are also 5-8 out of the playoffs. The Saints have historically had a lot of trouble in Soldier Field. I can count on my hand the number of games in the last 25 years. The Saints have won at Soldier Field. The Saints looked awful last week. I'm picking the Saints.
Makes sense. That's the way that the Saints season has been going. You know, the games that you think they should win, they lose, and the game that you think they should lose, they win. This game, they're going to win.
Dallas Cowboys, they have to face the Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas, look, this game's going to be a Sunday night. This game is a Sunday night football game. It's at Lincoln Financial Field. Dallas is an underdog, but I actually think the Cowboys win this game at Lincoln Financial. I just think their running game trumps Philadelphia's offense.
Now, when they run DeMarco Murray and they go with that type of offense, like they pass off of the run by just giving him the ball 25 times a game, then most definitely I think Dallas beats the Eagles. So I'm going to pick Dallas this game.
Denver Broncos go to play the San Diego Superchargers. I think San Diego's going to have more of a sense of urgency. I'm actually going to go with the Chargers in this game.
Me too. I thought you were going to pick the Broncos that time.
Ooh, all right. So we both going.
Just had a moment of epiphany.
So we both got.
I'm going with Peyton Manning.
Oh!
So it was the Chiefs. And then I picked against
At Arrowhead, that's right.
At Arrowhead. And I picked against Peyton Manning that game. And this time, I'm not going to pick against Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Even though Phillip Rivers kind of had his number. They beat him last year. And so, but I'm going with Peyton Manning this game.
So we have in Ohio, the Battle of Ohio, Cleveland hanging on to their playoff lives, and Johnny Manziel flying in with his cape on, Johnny Football, making his first NFL start at the Dog Pound, facing Cincinnati. I think I like the Browns are actually a 1-point favorite, believe it or not. I'm going to go with them.
going with the Browns.
Yes, I am.
I'm going with the Bengals.
Hey, not a bad pick. Very good team.
The Bengals, A.J. Green.
Oh, hey, you got that right. He's a beast. The Miami Dolphins travel to Foxborough to play the New England Patriots. I think this is where the Dolphins might be bowing out of the AFC playoff race in spite of Tannehill having definitely a big step up this season, but I'm going with Tom Terrific and the Pats at Foxborough.
I went with Tom Terrific pretty much the whole season, but right now I actually see a little something in Miami. My upset pick of this week is going to be the Miami Dolphins upsets the New England Patriots.
Yep. Big game if you're a fan of the New Orleans Saints. The Pittsburgh Steelers travel to the Georgia Dome to play the Atlanta Falcons. Pittsburgh has a good run-stopping defense, but they're a little softer in their secondary. I actually like the Falcons in this game.
From my information, I don't think Julio Jones is going to play that game, so I definitely am going with Pittsburgh.
Okay, let me make this condition. If Julio Jones doesn't play, then I'm switching to Pittsburgh. I'm switching to Pittsburgh if Julio Jones does not play.
I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Le'Veon Bell has been on.
So perhaps not the most macho of background music, but hey, it's tis the season, and you know, try to keep the spirit and yada yada. And Mariah's still fine.
I almost thought that was as I was sitting back listening to that music, man. What was the guys that made YMCA, man?
Oh, all the Village People. It's kind of foul.
Oh, man, is that a low blow?
That's hey, Mariah. Never mind. Anyway, boom booms. So now that we've talked about all that debauchery and smut and innuendo, it's time to get back to the main topic, which is the wide world of sports. You can, of course, join us if you like at 225-343-9927, 225-343-9927, as we prepare to talk about the National Football League.
Big boy. The frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. The Herald. Aaron Rodgers.
So, oh boy, Aaron Rodgers, he had better days, as the band Sugar Ray would say. But anyway, we have a lot of big games coming up. It's going down this weekend in the National Football League. We kind of got warmed up with our not-so-exhibition game on Thursday Night Football with Jacksonville and Tennessee, and now the real games are coming up. Got to talk about the New Orleans Saints. I'll tell you, with them this season, up has been down, down has been up. The Saints coming into this season had not lost a home game under Sean Payton since 2010, and then they lost 4 in a row. And utterly destroyed by the likes of the Carolina Panthers 2 weeks ago. Then last Monday night, they go into Soldier Field against the Chicago Bears, a team and a venue which the Saints have had trouble historically, no matter how good or bad either team has been, and they slapped the Bears and Jay Cutler. They slapped Jay Cutler out of his job and throttled the Bears 31-15, and those last 2 touchdowns were tacked on very late. They were not too far from securing a shutout. Definitely one of the best games of the year by the Saints defense, notwithstanding the Bears' ineptitude. So now they have their arch rival, the Atlanta Falcons, the Dirty Birds, coming on down to New Orleans tomorrow. This, folks, as far as I'm concerned, I believe this is the de facto NFC South championship game in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. The Saints are 6-8. The Falcons are 5-9. And this is pretty much it. I think the winner of this game takes the division. So what do we have? We have 2 teams. We have 2 teams coming in there. We have 2 teams with fantastic quarterbacks who can put up a lot of yards. One who's going to walk into the Hall of Fame. One who certainly has an opportunity to do so, depending on where his career goes. I actually, speaking of time in the future, I actually borrowed the DeLorean from Back to the Future. Talked to old Doc Brown, hopped in the DeLorean with the flux capacitor, and I got. Yep, and I got this sound footage from tomorrow's game. it is going to be a shootout tomorrow. Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, these are teams that have very high-powered offense. Defense has kind of been optional for both of these teams all year. Men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. And when you look inside the numbers, you can expect that scoreboard to be lit up. The over-under on the Saints-Falcons game is 38 points. That is ridiculous. I'm sorry, that is wrong. It's over 56. I'm sorry, I was looking at that was the order. That was the order of the teams. 56, 55. I'd take that over because they're going to, I wouldn't be surprised if one team scored 56 points in that game. Looking inside the numbers, the Atlanta Falcons dead last in the NFL in pass defense. They are allowing 117 yards per game on the ground, which is great for Mark Ingram and the Saints. The Saints are running for 121 yards a game. They're ninth in the league in running, even though we know them for Drew Brees in the passing game, as they're averaging over 300 yards a game passing. Drew Brees on his way to a third consecutive 5,000-yard passing season. Mind you, no other players eclipsed 5,000 yards more than once. So, now that being said, Saints don't have a whole lot to hang their hat on. Their pass defense, 26th in the league. Run defense, 29th in the league. It's going to be some slovenly football on defense. The Saints, the 12th man, the Who Dat Nation is going to have to really come alive in the Superdome tomorrow and make some noise.
Piper, what do you think brought about the Saints' demise or their mediocrity this year? Why are the Saints so mediocre? It seems very odd saying that the Saints are 6-8.
I know, man. I mean, I just think, well, if I had to put the blame squarely on, I had to put it on Rob Ryan. I had to really put it on him.
It's the defense.
It's the defense. And it's just been something it's been really puzzling. When Rob Ryan was at Dallas, from my understanding, they had the worst defense. And then he came to the Saints, and that one year he kind of did okay, and that kind of gave us a little confidence to keep him.
Now, keep in mind, though, Rob Ryan's defense, when they got into Dallas, that cupboard was bare. They went from the toilet the first year to about 20th. And if you remember those Cowboys, they did not have personnel on that team.
Yeah, right.
Sans DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah.
And, but I'm sorry, go on ahead.
And they had a couple of players that was injured, but to be last in the Dallas Cowboys, they do have talent. They are the Dallas Cowboys. And for him, and for his pedigree, being of the Ryan family, being from the master of the defense of his father, Buddy Ryan, for them to be, I don't know, maybe it's just a generational thing. Maybe I see a lot of these young coordinators, these young coaches, and everything is coming with look like the brand of football is starting to change a little bit. But getting back to the Saints, getting back to this game, the stats, everything sounds good. He's throwing for 5,000 yards. The Saints did this. The Atlanta has this. I throw all that out the window. All that is not going to matter. I am so torn about this game. This is the most important game. It's one of the most important games to me of the Saints' history, because this to me, it's kind of showing that the Saints are not in that elite anymore. They're starting to fall a little bit. If they lose this game at home to Atlanta, and this is for the division, it's going to really show me a lot about. I don't really know who I want to pick. In a way, I want to pick Atlanta, because the Saints have never showed up when it was time to really show up against that, to get that signature win. So I'm torn. When I came in today, I'm like, man, who am I going to pick between? I want to pick the Saints because of my heart said, but they just have let me down so much.
Piper has his hands up in the air. That's what the secondary might be saying to Matt Ryan. Hands up, don't shoot.
It all depends on Julio too. Is Julio playing?
And he's questionable. And to me, in this late in the season, questionable means you're playing, I would think.
Julio is the X factor, but I just want to tell my dear friend Piper, intellect over emotion always. Don't follow your heart. That's gonna get you caught up. Stick with the math. Stick with the math.
So what you think?
I'm going with the over. As Eric said, it's going to be a shootout.
So what do you think about the problem? What has been the Saints this year?
Defense. Strictly defense. I think they are. The defensive backs have been suspect all year. They've just been exposed.
Would you give a little bit of blame to Drew Brees? What do you think about his? Even though he's throwing for 5,000, do you see it in decline? Do you see the same Drew Brees?
Well, naturally, you're going to have a natural decline. I mean, he is getting older and wear and tear and damage and those hits after the pass and whatnot. So yeah, he's a step slower, but he's still very much accurate. So I wouldn't put a lot of blame on Drew, but I think my contention is that it is the defensive backfield. Those DBs, they suck. Period.
No, that I don't know if I'd use that vernacular, but that does sum it up rather well. I think the Saints' problems are twofold. The defense is glaring. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I think an 8-year-old could tell you that, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. You know, Rob Ryan's system, his whole philosophy, and what made the defense successful last season, and what made him help lift that Dallas defense out of the doldrums to actually, you know, having a net without a lot of holes in it, was pressure. You know, and DeMarcus Ware is a one-man pressure machine, and he used that to help pick that team up with really mediocre talent in Dallas. With the Saints, he had, you know, the two things. They're not getting the pressure this year they were getting last year, but if you notice, when they got to Roethlisberger, when they got to Cutler, when Akeem Hicks was blowing up the middle, when they went to Carolina, and they got to Cam Newton, that made life difficult. And mind you, they have a lot of they've been decimated by injuries in that defensive backfield. I mean, they have scrubs on defense for a reason. You know, Jarius Byrd has been out for the season. You know, they
second to last.
I mean, you know, they
remember a few years ago with when Greg Williams. Saints were okay with that defense until the Bounty Gate thing, and it just seemed like from there, because when Greg Williams was there, I got to give it to him. He had the Saints. It wasn't the best defense, but you know they handled their business.
They forced turnovers that year that they won the Super Bowl, though, and if you force turnovers. If you can force turnovers, you're going to win games. And Rob Ryan's system is a system that once you get pressure, you cause disruptions and you'll get incomplete passes and bad throws and turnovers. They just haven't. When they've gotten it, that's been a big part of the 6 wins. Now, to your point about Drew Brees, I just pulled up his stat line, and I'll just kind of leave it out there, and I'll throw in my 2 cents on Drew Brees. This year, he's completed 70% of his passes. That's as good as ever. Actually higher than his career average. He's on pace for another 5,000-yard season. His average yards per attempt is a tick above his career average. This year, he has 31 touchdown passes, 12 interceptions, which is not off of which is normal for him. The problem is that too many of those interceptions have been touchdowns to the other team, and that has really been a dagger in the heart of the Saints. He has got to keep a handle on that. If he's going to throw picks, it needs to be down the field on 3rd down and be the net effect of a punt. It does not need to be 6 points the other way. But all that being said, his quarterback rating is 101.4. They're Hall of Famers who don't have 101.4 ratings. So, yes, Drew Brees could have played better. Had he not made mistakes, the Saints would have had a better chance to win, but the offense is not what needs the most fixing. The fixing's on the other side of the ball. If Akeem Hicks starts slapping around, and Atlanta has an undrafted rookie center playing at center, that is in Akeem Hicks' wheelhouse. If he starts slapping people around and Junior Gillette can get some pressure, and Cam Jordan, I think they can make life very difficult for the Falcons.
So who you pick?
And you got right, one step ahead of me, man. So who am I picking in this game? You have the Saints and Falcons. The Saints played in Atlanta earlier this year. They had the game all but won, gave it away. Then they had an untimely fumble when they were marching down the field in overtime against the Dirty Birds. Colston fumbled the ball, and then Matt Bryan hit a walk-off field goal to win the game. The Saints made some mistakes, but the Falcons were very lucky to get away with that one, and they've actually regressed as the season's gone on. I think the Saints have some positive momentum with 2 tough road wins in the last 3 weeks, and Atlanta's, like I said, Atlanta can't stop a runny nose right now. I don't see how they're going to stop Mark Ingram and Drew Brees. For that reason, I think it's going to be a shootout, but I think the home crowd and Atlanta's deficits will be just enough for the Saints to push over the edge, win that game, and all but wrap up the division, or possibly wrap up the division, depending on Cleveland and Carolina, but win that game on Sunday. I'm taking the Saints.
I'm taking the Saints also. As Eric just clearly stated, it's hard to beat a team twice. And the Saints are playing at home. They have the momentum. This is a must-win. I think when the cards are on the table, blackjack, Drew Brees.
Professor just told me intellect, use my intellect, and go with the math.
Indeed.
And don't use my heart. You guys made some very valid points.
Boom, 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 boom.
I'm gonna go with the Saints just because it was a home game. I'm feeling very uncomfortable about this pick, but I'm gonna go with the Saints. The numbers say that they should win. They're at home. That this is a must-win. They have everything in their face, and so this is a time when they usually let me down. But I'm gonna go with the Saints.
Well, let's hope that Santa puts a win and not a lump of coal in our stocking for Christmas. Speaking of other NFL, by the way, in 10 minutes we have coming up Noel Jackson with Music Satisfaction here on 96.9 FM WHYR-LP Baton Rouge Community Radio. Other action in the National Football League, we have the Cleveland Browns as they will travel to Charlotte, and Johnny Football will take his money act on the road to face the Panthers in Carolina. This is, I'll tell you, you want to talk about a schizophrenic kind of matchup that's hard to call. You know, the Panthers defense, usually the heart and soul of the team, has been very inconsistent this year. They've been very up and down, but they are in Charlotte. I'm not sure if Cam Newton's going to play or not. We know that he practiced earlier this week, but you know, Derek Anderson has also shown that he can hold it down. And the thing with the Panthers, it's going to come down to really their rushing attack. I think it's going to come down to their running attack, really more so than who's under center at quarterback. Now, if Cam Newton, I'm going to tell you right now, if Cam Newton plays, I take the Panthers in a heartbeat. The line on that game, Cleveland and Carolina, is, I'm looking at the odds sheet, and I don't see it on there either. Yeah, it's not on the betting sheet. Which actually makes it harder to pick this game.
Away from that game.
Yeah, I was looking for a little insight on this one, but I'm going to take the Panthers only because they seem a little more stable of late, notwithstanding their quarterback situation. Cleveland was all over the place. I do expect Johnny Manziel to play better than he did against the Bengals. I heard that he was at the facility actually 5 hours earlier than normal for film session. I think he got his pride wounded. I think he got punched in his little Johnny Manziel chest, and his dollar bills went flying like feathers all over the facility. But I think he's going to play better, but I think the Panthers are going to win this game. Cam Newton, I think it's decisive. Derek Anderson plays, I think it's close. Either way, I'm taking the Panthers in this game.
Carolina minus 3.5, over and under 41. I'm going to go with Cleveland.
Wow.
You know, you're taking Cleveland plus the points or Cleveland straight up?
Cleveland and the 3.
Who do you think will win the football game?
Carolina probably wins.
Carolina. I'm going with Carolina. I think that everybody is. Johnny Manziel pretty much kind of showed me what he's about. He just doesn't look to me like he's going to be successful in the NFL. I really hate to say that about just seeing one game, but he seems extra small. He seems a little bit behind the game. Now maybe he can speed up, but for me, for his first professional to go on the road and to go in that and beat Carolina, Carolina will not allow a rookie quarterback to come off the bench, come on the road and beat them. I just don't see that. I don't see him and the stats that he had last week. I just don't see that at all. I don't see why it's a 3-point spread. I think Carolina rolls them.
Wow.
Yeah, with that defense Carolina got, they rolled Johnny Manziel.
Man, I like Johnny Football, man, and his physical.
I like him too.
I'm a huge fan.
His physical stature. I mean, you have to remember you had quarterbacks like Doug Flutie, Sir Francis Tarkenton.
Mm-hmm.
All these guys were small.
Russell Wilson, Russell Wilson.
But when you put in context how many quarterbacks came through that was
Joe Theismann.
It's only
Joe Theismann.
We can name about 10 of them, but that's out of maybe out of 300 or 400 that they came through with that same size. So it's a rare thing. You know, it can happen.
Drew Brees.
But Drew Brees is a pocket quarterback. He can look over the line and pass the ball. Johnny Manziel is a scatter type of back that he has to show me that he can really pass the ball out the pocket and be accurate like a Doug Flutie was. But you know, I just don't see it. I really don't see it. And they're going to be coming after him because he's Johnny Football. He has that name. I just don't see it. We'll see.
Big AFC matchup with a lot on the line. The Kansas City Chiefs of late have been more like the Kansas City Chefs as they've been chopped and diced in julienne, losing to the likes of the Oakland Raiders. They lost to the Denver Broncos, and they lost to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, none of those games were one-sided, but they finally, I guess, got off the schneid last week with a victory over the Raiders at home at Arrowhead Stadium. But the Chiefs just... They got that strong running game with Jamal Charles. They can run people over, but Andy Reid has absolutely, positively got to turn Alex Smith loose. I know Smith is not a volume passer. I know there's not been a touchdown pass to a wide receiver in Kansas City all year. I know that beyond Dwayne Bowe, the cabinet is kind of bare, but you know what? These guys get paychecks. They're in the NFL, and if Kansas City is going to keep their playoff hopes alive, which are they're dwindling. It's a big pack right there. You got about 5 or 6 teams really competing for those 2 wild card spots. He's got to turn them loose. The problem is they go to Heinz Field and face the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have gotten their mojo back. The Pittsburgh, look, has an aging secondary with Ike Taylor, and that you never know which Ike Taylor, if it's Ike Taylor or Ike Turner who's going to show up in that secondary. But they've got to turn them loose. I don't think that's going to happen, and I think the Steelers are going to win. I think they're going to win comfortably. I think they're going to beat Kansas City and probably put that head to bed on Sunday.
Wow, I think that Kansas City is going to win, and I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. This is my upset pick for the week. Kansas City is going to be a running game. They're going to play. Where are they playing at?
They're playing at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh.
Oh, I thought they were playing in Arrowhead.
Okay, correction.
I'm still going with the Kansas City Chiefs. Jamal Charles on the run game. It's going to be a run game. I think it's going to be. I'm going to Chiefs.
Boy,
Gave him an opportunity to get it out. He didn't take it.
Yeah.
Piper must have been hitting that sauce a little early in the morning, hitting the potion a little early.
Eric, what do you think about the game today, the Philadelphia and the Washington game, and the Frisco and San Diego games, which come on today?
Well, let me say this. Because we got about 4 minutes left. I want to talk. Right, I want to talk about that game real quick. We'll come back to the Saturday action in just a moment. But I absolutely, positively want to talk about the contest, big playoff contest on Sunday Night Football on NBC. The Indianapolis. I'm sorry, I just said. First of all, before we get to that, we have Indianapolis and Dallas. My bad, that's a primetime game. I'm going to blow through that very quickly. I think the Cowboys will win that game. Indianapolis doesn't have a whole lot to play for, so I like Dallas, even minus the points, in Cowboy Stadium.
Who you like?
I like Dallas.
Like Dallas? I like the Colts.
All right, and now we have, I'll tell you, I do expect them to compete. Now, for the big game, the Seattle Seahawks have to go out to the desert to face the Arizona Cardinals. This could very well decide the NFC West. The Arizona Cardinals have the number 1 running game in the NFL with a bevy of running backs. They have the number 1 pass defense in the NFL. They have the number 5 running defense in the NFL, and they can make people turn that ball over. On the other hand, Russell Wilson is as careful as they come. Neither team is volume passing. Arizona does have Ryan Lindley at quarterback, but their passing game is not going to be what gets them there. All that said, I think Seattle is not. They have that deficit under center, and I don't care how good of a coach that Bruce Arians is. I know he's the quarterback whisperer, but I don't know how much whispering. He's going to have to do some whispering and shouting. I'm taking the Legion of Boom in this matchup on the road in Arizona.
Me too. Seattle all day long.
I like Arizona, man. I like Arizona, and I like the 8 points.
Are you okay?
I like the 8 points.
But you all right?
But I'm going to take. I am in possession of all of my faculties.
Listen to it now. Listen.
I am in possession of all of my faculties. I like Arizona at home to beat Seattle.
So we're talking Arizona Cardinals, not the Diamondbacks. You want Arizona Cardinals.
I like Fitzgerald to beat
Richard Sherman.
Ooh, that is going to be something to watch. So go to today's action. We do have 2 NFL games today. There are playoff implications. Philadelphia travels to FedEx Field to play the Washington Redskins. I think Philadelphia wins that game, but the spread is 10 points. I think that Washington, here's the thing, though. Robert Griffin played better last week. It's hard to tell. I've often said that I stay away from I often say big home underdogs, heavy home underdogs I usually take. Washington is so dysfunctional, you just don't know which team is going to show up. So I'm going to take, don't bet the farm on this one, but I'm going to take the Eagles in this game, but I wouldn't bet a nickel on this one. It's just, there are too many wild factors up in the air. Las Vegas is going to make some loot on this game no matter what.
You like Philadelphia by the 10 or just the outright win?
Definitely the outright win, but I also like them with 10. But I'm saying that latter part, I don't know. We got 60 seconds left. Who you got in that game?
I'm going to take Philly.
I'm going to take Washington. RG3 is on a resurgence. He's trying to prove himself. This is going to be the game.
San Francisco hosting the San Diego Superchargers. The Chargers are 3-point underdogs, but Frisco's out of the playoffs. They have a lot of discord with the head coach. I think this is an easy pick. San Diego in the game, and San Diego +3.
San Diego.
Yep.
San Diego Chargers.
All righty, so that is all the time we've got today. We'd like to thank you for joining in. We have Noel Jackson right around the corner. And as we always say,
peace out.
Peace, family. Shout out to my 9-year-old daughter, Miss Tia Johnson, on her birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Daddy loves you. Peace.
Shout out.
have it. Quickly.
Shouts out to my mother at later Baton Rouge General Hospital and the staff for listening in. Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
Hail to the king and lords of love. May he protect us from the evil. Hail to the king, lords of love.